Hey, what's up, YouTube? A lot of bullets here, and I'm going to go over this deck that I've been playing with on ladder. And yeah, this is, of course, Goblins versus Gnomes, and this is the deck I like to call Shape-Shifting Mecha Cats. It's a Druid mid-range mech-based deck. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the cards and stuff like that, and why I'm not playing it over a conventional Druid deck, and what kind of success I've been getting, and then we're going to go into some games. So if you look over the list, you can see there's some standard staples in there like Innervate, Wild Growth, Swipe. Of course, those cards are pretty much going to be in every Druid deck. Well, maybe not Wild Growth, but you got like Innervate, Wild Growth, Swipe, Keeper of the Grove, and Ancient of Lore. I think most of those cards are probably going to be in every single Druid deck, and you kind of just build around that in the way that you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the reason to play mechs and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about the mechs individually, kind of how they work together. So our curve is looking like this: 0 5-drops, and that seems a little alarming. And I'll get back to why 0 5-drops is actually okay. A lot of stuff on 4, and a lot of stuff on there's 6 2s, 6 3s, and 6 6s, as well as 8 4s. So that means that our curve is going to be a lot of early game stuff, obviously, with some nice mid-range, late game stuff with our 2 Ancient of Lores, and then our 6 drops. 6 drops? There we go. Alright, so, excuse me. So, the reason we go mech is because mech gives something that Druid kind of has a lot of issues with. I found with like control-based, or I guess slower Druid than this one, is that it has a hard time with board control. Like, the minions you play aren't going to be very cost efficient. They're going to be like, if there was like a different type of deck, like if there was more high impact spells that swung the board, then yeah, the Druid cards would be insanely good. So getting a board presence early and then just kind of like winning through board control is kind of the idea behind this deck. And just playing very high value 2-for-1 minions. Most of the minions in here are 2-for-1s. Just naturally, they're going to give you some kind of advantage. So looking at the 2-for-1 specifically cards, like the minions at least: Harvest Golem, Mech Warper, Tinkertown Technician, Keeper, Mechanical Yeti, Piloted Shredder, Cairn, Mecha Bearcat, Piloted Sky Golem, Sylvanas, Black Knight, Ancient of Lore. These are almost all of the cards in the deck are 2-for-1s, and the cards that aren't 2-for-1s are going to like set up 2-for-1s. So Robocub, he doesn't seem very good, but depending on what your opponent does, he can counter a 2-drop. So if your opponent plays like a 3-2 or something like that, then this card is negated. But if they play like a Loot Hoarder, he's pretty solid against that because you can just put him on plus 1 health, and he can kill a Loot Hoarder. He's very, very good at killing 2-drops that are played in the meta, and he's also very good against like Warlock Zoo, which isn't really seen that much anymore, but he's a pretty good card. I don't think he's like necessarily amazing, but he's also a taunt, which is relevant so that you can protect your board late in the game. And the other not 2-for-1 is Spider Tank. He's pretty much Yeti Jr. is what I like to call him, because he's just a little step down from Show and Yeti. He's a mech. He's perfect in this deck because he fits in. 3-drops are always good. In my opinion, I think the 3-drop slot is sacred. So having Spider Tank is just crazy good. Now talking about the 2-for-1s, Mech Warper, the reason I call this card a 2-for-1 is because you're going to get mana back from this guy. So you play him, he's a 2-3-for-2, which is already okay. Like, there are cards that are just 2-3-for-2, and that's just it. And he makes your mechs cost 1 less, so essentially he's going to give you mana in a way. It's not really like literal, but he's going to give you mana. So you drop a Mech Warper, and then you can drop a Robocub on 3 mana. You can go boom boom. You can go boom boom, and that's 3 mana. Or like if you can coin him out and then you can have a turn 2 Spider Tank, you're pretty much winning the game, just off of Mech Warper. And there's not many other cards that can set you up like that. It's similar to Innervate, kind of. It's kind of similar to having a coin for all your mechs, I suppose. And then Harvest Golem, he's been one of the better minions in the game for a long time. I don't think there's really much to say about Harvest Golem besides that hasn't already been said. Tinkertown Technician has been one of my new favorite cards in the set. A 3-mana 4-4, like it's going to be a 4-4 most of the time, is already really good. Like, that's already ahead of curve. And then you get a spare part that only you get, so it's not like Mechanical Yeti where you both get spare parts, it's where you get a spare part. And the spare part card is worth, like, not... It's kind of hard to judge the value of a spare part card. It's not really worth 1 mana worth of stats. But since this guy is getting 1 mana worth of stats whenever you have a mech, so he becomes a 4/4, he's essentially going to give you about 1.5 mana worth of extra stuff for playing him. So he's crazy good whenever you have a mech on play. Keeper of the Grove, already, can say a lot. Swiper, we're talking about minions. Mechanical Yeti, he's just a better version of Chillwind Yeti. The only drawback is that he gives your opponent a spare part, which is worth like half a mana. So essentially, he's just a better Yeti because you get like half of you essentially are playing 4.5 mana worth of stats to give your opponent half a mana. So he comes out to the wash in some ways, but giving yourself card advantage, and if you get a really good spare part, it can just really open up the game for you. Powdered Shredder has been surprisingly good too. I didn't think this card was going to be that good, but the thing is that a 4/3 for 4 is but the 2-drop that you get is any 2-drop. Sometimes you pull a Doomsayer when your board is full and you just lose the game. But sometimes you pull a Doomsayer when your opponent's board is full and you win the game. This card is just very hit or miss, but at the same time, he's also a lot of value. You get a 2-for-1. Karen, always a 2-for-1. Pretty much always. The only time that it's not a 2-for-1 is if it gets hexed, but even then, if they're hexing Karen, we're still okay because it's not the only late-game threat we have. Mech Bearcat has also been surprisingly good. I didn't think this card was going to be any good, and I've changed my opinion on it a lot. Even though it's a reverse ogre, getting spare part cards is just great. Like every single time, if you get swiped or something like that, a whirlwind effect of some sort, Bearcat just gives you spare parts, and if he can get 2 or 3 spare parts cards, it's just he pays for himself just by playing him. And then every single spare part you get after that is just ridiculous. This guy's really good value. Piloted Sky Golem is a lot better than Piloted Shredder because the 4-drops are a lot better. And a card that I've been getting a lot is the Mage Epic Wii Spellstopper. And it's a 2/5 that has your adjacent minions, or adjacent minions of the Spellstopper cannot be targeted by spells or hero powers. I don't know why I've been consistently getting that card, but every single time I plop down a Golem, I get a Wii Spellstopper, it feels like. But this guy is actually really good. Sylvanas, of course. The Black Knight just wins you games sometimes. Like the card is just you play Black Knight and your opponent just goes oh shit and it just concedes. So, and then Ancient of Lore, he talked about that. So I just went through the deck. I'm talking a lot about this deck in terms of breaking it down because this is a lot different than your typical Druid deck. And the reason I didn't spend so much time last time on the Warrior control deck is because it's a very typical list. It's standard stuff with some new additions, and I just had to explain the new additions. And I think this is the best version right now, but bear in mind this could change really quickly. So this is also really cheap deck. Well, I say really cheap, and it's 3 legendaries. You don't necessarily need the 3 legendaries, but there's not, the new cards you put in the deck are not so expensive. You get 1 epic, 2 rares, so a lot of commons. So yeah, we're gonna get into some games here. I'm probably only going to get 1 game on this first part because I spent a lot of time breaking it down and talking about it. My rank, by the way, I'm just kind of playing a whole bunch of different stuff. So my rank has been just fluctuating a whole lot as I try to figure out what's good and what's not. And I could just decide to play Hunter or something to just grind my rank all the way up to whatever 5 or something and then play there. But that takes a lot of effort, and I want to play new stuff. And of course, we're playing a Hunter. This matchup I don't really have a lot of experience with, to be honest. Now, in our opening hand, we want to keep Tinkertown Technician, and especially with the 2-drop, because we can just go Robocub into Technician. Spider Tank is also good. This is a good hand in general, so we're going to keep it, even though it doesn't have any. Well, we don't have any 1-drops. It has no Innervate, has no Wild Growth, and we're not on the draw, so it means that we're not going to have anything come out on turn 1, but we're still in good shape here. And depending on what he plays, I'm going to probably put this on +1 health. I think it's probably the best bet. Now, if he goes double Undertaker, please just be Undertaker. Nah. Alright, so we're going to have to probably put him on health anyway. Unfortunately, it's going to die. This is one of the best openings in the game right here that this Hunter opened up with. It's very hard to beat. So we're gonna have to rely on a lot of draw steps in order to beat him, and we'll see about that. Like this is just this is borderline unbeatable sometimes, but with this deck we actually have a okay chance, not a good one, but an okay chance of winning this game. We're just gonna play a tank. This card is the best value that we have in our hand, and we're gonna just try our best to potentially win this game. This is just one of those openings that you really hate to see because it feels almost unfair at times. There's just nothing you can really do about it. Man. This is painful. Really wanted to show off this deck a little bit. It's actually like, I go to video and it's like, you know, I've been playing really well, we're getting really lucky, good starts and stuff, and then this happens. So we can play two things this turn. I think I want to play two things rather than just one. So we're gonna go ahead and play Tinkertown Technician as well as the Spider Tank. These minions just have the most health in our hand, and that's, I think, is more relevant. We're starting to run out of cards, and he's just trucking along pretty well. He's in good shape. He should likely win this game. We don't really have any heal. We don't have any heals besides our Ancient of Lores, so we're probably going to lose. Just because the start was just insane. I'd imagine he just hits me for 1 billion damage. 3-6, 8, 10 damage to 16. And then I can like kill like 2 things on the crackback. Doesn't seem so good. I'm gonna kill off his Reaper. Well, maybe not, because this 2 he can probably kill off his Scientist if he wants. I don't know, if he gets Freezing Trap I just kinda lose. Yeah. Oh. Well, this is all minions, right? I want to kill the Undertaker, but I really have to do this. It reduces the amount of damage I'm taking. This is really not what I wanted to have on video. That sucks. But, yeah. I can see they can probably get another one. I don't want to have any videos over 20 minutes. I'm just dead already. Yeah, there's just no point playing this game. Oh. I can see. Alright, so what you do is this deck is if your opponent has the perfect start, you can't beat them. That's been normal. That's just been the norm for a while. Not much you can do about that. I don't know. Don't know. I'm gonna try to get one more game in, if the Q will work. Okay.
Alfurion versus Uther. I will fight with honor. I must protect the wild.
I don't want Keeper or Ancient. I'm considering keeping the Shredder, but I'm thinking I'm gonna coin out the Mech Warper, so I kind of want to just try to get lower on the curve. And see what we can get back. And of course we get a Keeper back. This Wild Growth is kind of awkward because I want to get the Mech Warper into Spider Tank on turn 2. It's like that's like I talked about before. It's extremely difficult to lose whenever you do that. And then the Technician on 3. If this dies, then we can Wild Growth, and it's not as good, but. I don't know what it would die to. Can't think of what he could pull out to just kill this. Yeah, that's good. Going face, or does he go into the Mech Warper? Going face. Excellent. Gonna go ahead and play Spider Tank. Hit his face. And, like, similarly to how the Hunter had a ridiculous start, the only way to make the start better would have been an Innervate instead of the Wild Growth. So we could Wild Growth out we could Innervate out the Spider Tank. But also, this start is pretty fantastic. Don't like this is still great. We still get a spare part. We're still going to gain 5 life, and we're right back where we want to be, curving out perfectly with a Paladin Shredder. And he's also going to curve out with a Paladin Shredder. We have an interesting predicament here. We could go for the kill. But I think I want him to trade. I'm okay with him killing my my technician. When you're thinking about it, I feel better about him killing this than me like running the tank into it, even though it's kind of profit. Only reason this would kill us here would be like a Belcher. Well, it's not terrible. We can still deal with this. This isn't too big of an issue because we can keep her. Silence. +1. Hopefully we don't get a Doomsayer.
Justice demands retribution.
Well, Justice ain't getting shit. And we're gonna do that. And I'm actually thinking about innervating a Wild Growth so that I can lure next turn. But Powdered Sky Golem is still pretty good next turn. The only way this draws, or this backfires, is if he plays True Silver right now. Also, holding the Wild Growth for card draw at 10 mana is not too terrible either. Venging Wrath. I feel like that always almost clears my board, like every time someone plays Avenging Wrath. I don't know if that's just how the odds work every time, but it feels like every time it's pretty much like clear the enemy board, and then any extra damage goes to the yeah, kills the tank, kills the keeper, or kills the Cruel Taskmaster. It's like that's really not that good of a Loatheb. I don't know why he's doing that. Actually, it's actually complete trash because we can just do this. And we got a turtle. Yeah, he only has little stuff. I mean, why not? Next turn is gross. Play this, 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 and this, right? 2, 3, 5, 8. Yeah. Clockwork Giant. Well, I will admit I did not see that one coming. It's one of the new cards. Swipe would actually be pretty nice here. Spire Tank is also not too bad. Let's actually go with... let's go tank mode. Let's play this. Let's play... Well, could get one up. Well, he probably doesn't have equality. Probably not in this deck. Still a concern, though. Alright, well, we're gonna kill this. And then one of these. He's at 13, it's really low life, so our draws can get pretty nice here. And if our board does get cleared, we still have the Spire Tank and Harvest Golem as backup. Okay, well, he's gonna kill the 5/5 with his 8/8. Almost assuredly. Unless he has Blessing of Kings, which he doesn't. Alright, so we're still in really good shape because we just are. Like, this is alright board. Another lore is good, but I think we're gonna hold off on that this turn. Seeing if there's a way I can. No. I'm probably gonna sack this guy into that. I think. Yeah, there's no other way to do that. I suppose more cards isn't bad. Okay. 4 + 4 is 8, 9, 10, 6. I can deal 6 damage. Not much. Let's put him to 9 so that I can hit with just 2 or 3. Yeah, just 2 of these guys deal 4 damage and I'll kill him. 4 plus this is yeah, 4 plus 2 is 4 damage, and plus 1 is 9. LOH. Okay. And this swipe is getting pretty tasty. Swipe is still kind of tasty at this point. It's looking kind of good. Sorry about that. That's better. I want to give him any chance to come back in the game. It's slime time. Aw, yeah. My opponent seemed to agree that it was slime time. Mustard for battle. It's gonna dome me. Card is always like, it just when someone plays it, I'm just like, wow, that's really good, and then I'm like, wish I was playing Paladin. Oh, is that lethal?
None shall.
And that is how to top deck your opponent 101. Alright, so this part 1 was kind of just to show a little bit how the deck functions, and we got a win and a loss. So in part 2, I'll be going a little bit more in depth and talking, well, I'll just be playing more games in part 2, how about that? So yeah, see you guys in